Welcome to the deep dive. You sent us quite a fascinating collection of recent stuff on Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah, real mix.
And our mission, like always, is to pull out the most interesting bits for you. Think of it as your shortcut, basically. Gets you the whole picture without you having to read everything.
Exactly. And we've got some good sources. There's a People article about her take on the Justin Baldoni situation.
Right.
A big Vanity Fair interview covers her directing debut, AI thoughts, Hollywood stuff. Then an InStyle piece on her beauty brand, the outset, privacy, career things. And also a chat from today with Jen and friends, parenting, the outset again, directing. So yeah, our job is to kind of weave all that together for you, give you a real sense of what she's up to and thinking right now.
So where do we start?
Well, that People piece and the Vanity Fair one, too, they both mentioned the weird timing with Justin Baldoni.
Yeah, that definitely jumped out. So her film, her directorial debut, Eleanor the Great.
Yeah.
It's backed by his company, Wayfarer Studios.
Right. And this is all happening while he's in that very public legal fight with Blake Lively.
Yeah, the lawsuit Lively filed alleging sexual harassment and retaliation, which Baldoni denies.
And then he filed his own countersuit against Lively and Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
Defamation, extortion claims. It's messy.
And this is where it gets really layered, isn't it? Because Johansson, she used to be married to Ryan Reynolds.
Exactly. Who's now named in Baldoni's countersuit.
Wow.
And then there's another piece, the Wayfarer Foundation, which is the philanthropic part of Baldoni's studio. That just announced it's shutting down. No real reason given, just shutting down amidst all this legal stuff.
So what did Johansson actually say about it?
Well, in Vanity Fair, she kept it pretty brief, but supportive of Wayfarer's role in her film. Said they were super supportive throughout the process.
Okay.
But she did directly acknowledge the situation. She added, but yeah, such weird timing, which, considering her history with Reynolds, says quite a bit.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, let's talk about the film itself then. Eleanor the Great. It just premiered at Cannes, right, this week?
That's right, Tuesday. Stars June Squibb, who's amazing. She plays a 94-year-old woman, Eleanor. After a loss, she starts telling this story that apparently gets a bit, well, the festival called it dangerous.
Intriguing. And the cast sounds great. Chiwetel Ejiofor, Jessica Hecht.
Erin Kellyman, too. Solid lineup.
And June Squibb apparently thought Johansson was great as a director.
Yeah, she had some really nice things to say in Vanity Fair, called her open, authentic.
Yeah.
Said there was no S about her at all, which is quite the compliment.
Hey, yeah.
She even added, I do think she likes herself. I think Scarlett enjoys being Scarlett. Sort of a charming observation.
And Johansson herself, how did she feel about directing?
She seems to have really leaned into it, both in Vanity Fair and on Today. She talked about enjoying learning all the different parts, sound mixing, coloring, editing, things she's tackling. Now she's 40.
Right.
Called it a seamless transition after being an actor on sets for so long.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
But she also felt a bit like an imposter.
Yeah, she admitted to feeling some imposter syndrome, which honestly is pretty relatable when you're doing something big and new.
Totally. And the film itself has a specific kind of feel she was going for.
Yeah, she mentioned being inspired by those indie films from like the mid-'80s to the mid-2000s.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Living Out Loud, Crossing Delancey, Moonstruck, those kinds of character-focused, intimate stories.
Ah, okay. I get the vibe.
And it sounds very personal. Filmed in her own neighborhood in Upper Manhattan, even Coney Island, which she remembers from childhood.
And the story. Eleanor takes on her dead friend's Holocaust survivor story. That's heavy.
Yeah, it seems like it's exploring grief, loneliness, maybe boredom, how people cope in strange ways. It's quite complex, actually.
And the scale of it is just tiny compared to her next acting gig, right? Jurassic World Rebirth.
Oh, massively different. She apparently mentioned the budget for Eleanor was something like 300 times smaller.
Wow.
Really shows she's committed to these smaller passion projects alongside the huge blockbusters.
Okay, so speaking of control directing her own film versus, say, controlling her own image, that brings us to AI.
Yes, artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
Big topic in the Vanity Fair interview. She feels really strongly about needing boundaries, legislation even.
To stop people using her likeness or voice without permission.
Exactly. That's the core of it. Who owns your digital self? She said she feels a bit on her own fighting this and wishes more famous people would speak up.
You can see why, especially after that OpenAI Sky voice thing.
Right, where the chatbot voice sounded incredibly like her, even though she'd said no to voicing it.
And she took legal action.
She did, and OpenAI stopped using the voice, so she's not afraid to act on it.
And there was a deepfake video, too.
Yeah, using her image to condemn Kanye West's anti-Semitism. She might agree with the message, but someone using her face without consent, that's the issue. It shows how easily it can be misused.
Right.
She mentioned something her therapist said, we're always more human than otherwise. Kind of putting it in the context of how AI could exploit our, human vulnerabilities.
That's a powerful thought. Okay, shifting again. Her wider views. Hollywood, tech, politics. She seems quite aware of the currents.
Definitely. She talked about feeling this blanket of unease about everything going on in the news cycle. I think a lot of people feel that.
For sure.
And she noticed a shift in Hollywood, specifically how Donald Trump is now sort of barely acknowledged at big events like the Oscars, compared to how outspoken people were before.
That is interesting. Did she have a theory why?
Well, she kind of floated the idea that maybe the big tech guys funding studios and events like the Oscars might be leading to a kind of muzzling, was her word.
Muzzling?
Yeah, like maybe certain political views are just less welcome now or less openly expressed.
Did she give an example?
She mentioned The Apprentice, that Trump biopic, pointed out how most big studios passed on it. It got picked up by a smaller company, got a limited release, even though there was some Oscar talk around it.
So suggesting maybe financial interests are influencing what gets platformed?
It raises that question, certainly, about what stories get told and how loudly.
Okay, let's switch gears completely. Scarlett Johansson, the businesswoman, The Outset.
Right, her clean beauty company. Started it in 2022.
Focused on sensitive skin, natural stuff.
Yeah, and what's interesting is her whole philosophy behind it. She really stressed wanting products that worked on their own, not just relying on her fame.
So not just another celebrity cash grab, as she put it.
Exactly. She seems determined for it not to be that, more like a proper standalone brand. Her being hands-on but not plastering her face everywhere seems part of that strategy.
They mentioned some specific products, the Rescue Balm, the Lip Oasis.
That firming serum, too. The Lip Oasis sounded interesting. She joked about the applicator design going through a vibrator phase.
Oh.
But the main thing is it's supposed to be really hydrating, using their special complex, Hyalurocet. She mentioned on Today hating sticky glosses, so this aims for shine without the tackiness.
And she's really involved day to day.
Apparently, yeah. The InStyle article painted a picture of her being involved in everything, from developing products down to, making sure the office has a first aid kit.
That's pretty committed.
Seems like it. And that probably helps overcome the skepticism people sometimes have about celebrity brands. The proof seems to be in people buying it again. The repeat customers.
And she still doesn't have personal social media, right? Which is kind of rare for a founder these days.
Very rare. It really highlights how much she values her privacy. She talked about that quite a bit, understanding those parasocial relationships fans form.
Yeah, that one-sided connection.
Exactly. She pops up on The Outset's Instagram sometimes for tutorials, but no personal account. It fits with what she said about being a delicate flower when it comes to that stuff.
And that ties into her views on it for her kids, too.
Definitely. She mentioned hoping her daughter, who's 10, waits until she's much older, maybe adult.
And has rules about phones.
Yeah, thinking about maybe 8th grade, or perhaps just a flip phone or an Apple Watch for contact, just being really thoughtful about navigating tech with her kids.
Explaining the irrevocable nature of fame to her daughter. That's pretty deep.
It is, and it connects to her policy about fan photos, too. If she's not at an event, she says, I'm not working. Setting boundaries.
Fair enough. We also got some cool personal bits, like her 40th birthday party.
Oh, yeah, the this is your lifestyle thing. Sounded intense. She said it was surreal, and she's still processing it.
And her reaction to Colin Jost's SNL joke, the roast beef sandwich one.
Yes. She called it old school gross. And the way they filmed her reaction backstage was like, to catch a predator. Intense, but sounds like she handled it okay.
It was nice hearing her talk about Lost in Translation, too. Being proud of how she handled herself back then.
Yeah, and also reflecting on how she was blatantly objectified as a young actress by journalists back then. An important point about how things maybe have or haven't changed.
She mentioned career turning points to the Tony Award, getting Black Widow.
Right, big moments. And speaking of Black Widow, she seems pretty definite that Natasha Romanoff is dead in the MCU.
Yeah, what did she say?
Something like, she saved the world, let her have her hero moment. Pretty clear.
Okay, message received, Marvel fans. And finally, Jurassic World. She always wanted to be in one.
Apparently. A long-held ambition. So she's excited about Jurassic World Rebirth, even though the shoot in Thailand sounds like it was tough with monsoons.
Shows her range again. Big blockbusters, small indies.
Absolutely. It really paints a picture of someone managing a lot of different things.
So if we pull it all together from this deep dive, we see Scarlett Johansson juggling, well, everything. Acting in huge movies, directing personal films, building this beauty business very deliberately, all while really guarding her privacy and speaking out on things like AI regulation.
Yeah, that contrast between the tiny indie Eleanor the Great and the giant Jurassic World rebirth really sums up where she is professionally right now. It's a fascinating mix.
And through it all, she seems to have this really thoughtful, grounded way of approaching her career and her business, despite being famous for so long.
Which kind of leads us to a final thought for you, the listener. Looking at all these different roles, actress, director, entrepreneur, advocate, what do you think her biggest impact will be in the years ahead? Is it the work on screen, behind the camera? Or maybe in the world of beauty and business? Something to think about.